In a place in the middle of the corn desert, a Midwestern shelter stands constructed of old wood. A stable out back, but not for any livestock, but rather a collection of eerie tales compiled and saved. As we open the double doors to the compound, we select the best in weird, paranormal, and unsettling news. And it all starts right now, live from the Acrylic Ranch.
And we are live? I guess we're live. We wouldn't be able to do this unless we were live. It is the Acrylic Ranch, and as always, our Dana Scully of the Acrylic Ranch, Jennifer Ann.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
How about we jump into it, Jen? Because I'm kind of excited from what the opening was. Voices from the Woods.
Okay.
And I guess I'll just kind of kick things off a little bit. Over the last couple of years, understanding some things into the Sasquatch or Bigfoot world, or whatever it is that you would like to call this entity, there has been a lot of witness testimonies to the fact that these beings have the ability to mimic, whether it's to draw somebody in as a victim or whether it's to draw them in to befriend them. I'm not really sure, nor do I think any of the witnesses that have had this experience would know the answer to that. But with firsthand experience, it's not about me. It's about Jennifer, and Jen went on a ranch petition this past week, and from what she shared with me so far, that's why we had to do this episode tonight. Voices from the Woods, and a personal take from Jennifer. So, Jen, share.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yes. Share. We call this the end of the show. No, we're not.
Nope, not going to share.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
All right, have a good night.
Right? No, so my family and I decided to go camping over the last week up to Mount Hood, which I was camping, I don't know, it was about, I want to call it a good 10-minute drive between Trillium Lake and the campground that I went to.
And this is in Oregon.
Yes, sorry, in Oregon.
That's okay.
So, a couple of years ago, I had went camping at Trillium Lake, just to give a little bit of a backstory of the area. And this was where, and I can't remember if I've already told this on this show. I know that I went on to Bono's Bigfoot Tavern, and I told it on there. But I had been camping, and it was late, it was in the middle of the night. I would say that it was probably about, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had heard footsteps coming up to the tent. And they were definitely bipedal, definitely not human. They were really loud, and just the pattern of the steps, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been back to that area since. This is my first time going back. And we happened to be, it was earlier on in the afternoon when I was over where the tent was, and then my family was over where the picnic table was, which was, you know, it was a decent distance, and the river was flowing right there, and the river was really loud. And I didn't know that Mike, my husband, was saying anything, and he had said, Jennifer, and then he said it again, Jennifer, and then finally at the end it was, hey, Jen! And so then I was like, oh, whoops, sorry, you know, and I went over and did whatever. Well, later on the evening, I would say, it had to have been about like 4 or 5 hours later, and he had taken the kids down to the river, and I was up at the campsite alone.
Mm-hmm.
but it was still daylight. You know, I would say it was it was towards, the sun was starting to go down.
Close to twilight?
Yes. And I thought I heard my name called. And I kind of stopped, and I was like, oh man, you know, I don't want to get up. And I heard it a second time, and I'm like, okay. And it was just like he had called before, like to a T. The first time, my name; the second time, a little bit like, hey, can you hear me? And then finally, by the third time, it's, you're really annoyed. And I'm like, all right, I'll be right there. Hold on, you know. So I get my shoes on and everything, and I get out of the tent, and I walk down to the river, and my oldest daughter is coming up from the river up the path, and I said, hey, what does Daddy need? And she says, what do you mean? And I said, well, he was just calling my name. And she goes, no, I didn't hear him. And I says, well, why don't you go ask him? You know, run over there and ask him. So she goes over and she asks him, you know, and I wait for them to come up from the river up onto the path. And he's just looking at me like, what are you talking about? I never said your name. I never called for you. Nothing. And at the time, I'm thinking, that is so weird. I know that I wasn't hearing anything.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody else around, and I mean, that I could see. And it was his voice. It was it was totally his voice. And so it kind of spooked me, you know. And then later on in the evening, as it started to get dark, I just had this feeling, maybe, of being watched. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't alone. I was just uneasy, and I can't really explain why. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, it's been a couple days since then, and you and I started talking about it, and I'm just like, well, you know, I was remembering these other stories, and I wasn't sure if it was a Sasquatch or what it was, that, you know, there are these people, and there's this thing that's either calling their name in a voice that sounds like somebody that they know, or calling their dog, and it makes it sound like them, and it's just, you know, so
Right.
So that's my story. I'm still at this point where it hasn't totally sunk in yet. I don't know what I think. Yeah.
Well, you told me the story. We're sharing it with, you, the listeners. He had no idea, I'm assuming he had no idea what you were talking about of, no, I didn't call you, or
Right.
along those lines, but yet you clearly heard it. I've never had that experience myself, but like I said at the beginning of the show, I have listened to a number of witnesses that have had that experience in the mimic. And not only will it mimic, a person's voice to try to either lure them or get their attention, or whatever their intent is, nobody knows. Maybe somebody knows, but they're not here anymore to share with us.
Right.
There's been the, witness testimony of the fact that a dog owner heard his voice from the woods calling his dog into the woods. And an experience like that, I could only imagine, an experience like that, like even what you had, and you actually come to grips with what the possibility actually could have been. It's spine changing. It really is. It sends shivers up the spine. Absolutely. And, it could probably put you on edge for, quite a while you're camping, because like you said, you had the feeling of being watched, that there may be a presence close by that you can't see.
Right.
But, again, with, Native American lore and just the stories themselves, because, I believe that there is a Sasquatch. I'm not a knower, but I believe that, the possibility of it, absolutely. With all the
Right.
witness testimonies and stories, that would be a bigger hoax than Bigfoot itself. Is that there's so many hundreds of thousands of people all over the world making up the same story.
Right.
That would be a bigger hoax than the Sasquatch itself. So I am a believer that there is a very elusive entity being, whether you want to take it down a whole different path, interdimensional, or the woo woo. Everybody has their own opinion, but the point is
Right.
there's something. And if you heard your name being called 3 separate times in the tone of your spouse,
Right.
wow, you
Exactly.
told
And
me
it was
that, and I
just
was like,
tweets.
wow, that's, how. But again, like I told you earlier, and I would tell everybody else, in a way that's kind of a privilege. I mean, you're part of a very privileged community now. If that's the case, there's a rare
Well,
amount of people that have that, capability. So go figure. Wow,
right.
it is amazing.
I mean, I, and there again, I'm not sure what I think or what I feel. I mean, I know when I did the interview with Bono at the time
Which is
of my
Mojo
first
Encounters,
one.
by the way.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right.
Sorry, Bono. But see, and because I didn't see anything, I don't want to call it an encounter, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'll call it my experience.
Your
But
experience, absolutely. Well, that's a
right.
good word.
So the experience with the footsteps, at the time it terrified me because I really felt stupid.
Mhm.
And this is a hard thing for me to admit, but I will. I was alone in my tent with my 2 younger kids, and my husband and my older one had gone off to the bathroom, and we were all tucked in, and I didn't have anything. But at the same time, I hear these other experiences where it's like it doesn't matter if you have a gun or something because you can't. Like sometimes you experience this fear where you can't do anything anyways, or if they use that infrasound and you're
Right.
totally on your knees throwing up,
Right.
whatever that is.
Right.
And so it's just like it makes you feel so small and so just unable to do anything
Hmm.
or helpless.
You're very
Is the word I'm
vulnerable,
looking
right?
for.
Very vulnerable.
Right. And so it's like I didn't go camping. It's been like 2 years,
Hmm.
I think. And but now I feel, I don't want to say I know, but I feel this stuff is out there, and so then I'm able to approach camping a little bit differently to where I feel a little bit better. And but still at the same time I'm sitting there going, okay, so the first time is, I mean, I felt stuff when I've been out there, and I can't explain it to anybody what I mean by feeling something. It's like it could have been a cougar staring at me for all I know. But I used to have this really huge fear, and I would sleep in my husband's truck. I wouldn't sleep in the tent. And I
Hmm.
always thought that there was going to be a face staring at me in the window. And so I would put little blankets up and stuff
Oh,
to
yeah.
barricade the window.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, um, it, but it never happened. But then all of a sudden, when I'm least expecting it, and because back then that was the oh, what's it called? It's a certain kind of primitive camping where it's not a campground. You just drive into the woods.
Primitive,
Camp.
right? Right.
Right. So that's what we were doing then, and so then I was like, well, I really would feel better going to campgrounds, and so then that fear had went away, and I really wasn't thinking about it when I heard those footsteps. And so
Right.
that just had totally thrown me off. And then I was thinking, well, this was kind of a smaller section. It wasn't the main campground. This was like an offshoot with like a couple scattered campgrounds or campsites.
Right.
So then I thought, okay, well this one's really super populated. Normally, normally it's all booked up. But I don't know, it kind of leads me to think, well, shoot, you know, it's almost like there's this path happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't want, I mean, I don't even know if I want to say it, but if it got to the point where this was leading up to actually seeing something, see, and I don't necessarily want to experience that either.
Well,
But it's
maybe
not
you
something
won't
that
either.
I
Yeah, I kind of
right.
feel that, depending on how much you want to experience, the common saying is, uh, be careful what you wish for. And you
Oh
have a
yeah,
lot of,
exactly.
searchers that are out there, squatching. Yeah, be careful what you wish for. You may have run amuck into something that you probably would turn around and say, why did I ever even bother? But, I got a couple questions
Right.
for you. Um,
Okay.
in your recollection from your camp trip, did you hear any other wildlife in the area? Owls or birds or, distant cries of coyotes or
Um,
anything?
we had so many crows, so many crows.
Uh huh.
It was crazy.
Okay.
And then we had, I mean, there was like 7 different chipmunks running around our tent,
Right.
and that was a lot of fun.
Uh huh.
We had a couple squirrels, um, but other than those,
Nothing like
I
a
don't
wood knocks or
recall.
anything, though. The typical wood knocking that you recall.
No, nothing.
Right. Well, the
You
crows
know,
are
I tried that
interesting.
though.
What's that?
I tried to take a stick and hit
Did
it
you?
against the tree
Yeah.
just to see what, you know.
Right.
That hurt. Oh my gosh, I felt like such a weakling. I was just like, wow. Not
Yeah.
only did it really super hurt, it really made no sound.
Yeah. Yeah, they
So,
do. They sell the wood knock bats, which is a baseball bat, pretty much.
oh geez.
Um, and it does resound. And I've tried it a long time ago, um, before the whole Squatch thing, anyway. And
Right.
yeah, it was my brother and myself, because we used to camp frequently. Um, we would try to play a song, by beating on a tree
Oh.
or something, but we would just, and we ended up throwing it. It's like, forget it. It's too hard to try to find that many different trees that you can make a tune with. But
Right.
yeah, I know what you mean by the hand shock. Once you smack a branch
Yeah.
or something again, you
Oh,
get more of a shock in your hand. But yeah, I was just curious if you heard anything unusual. Now, part of the mimic thing is that it's claimed, and again, this is all speculation and claims. I know a lot of it comes from First Nations people, and I respect that opinion, because who would know better than anybody from the First Nation? I I lean heavily on their experience and what they have to say more than anybody else. But the opinion is yes, they can mimic the owls, coyotes, crows, most of the living nature in the area. I don't know if they try to draw those animals in for food, or if they draw them in for comfort so that they can be in amongst those creatures. So that, because
see.
I'm trying to think outside the box. If you're in a territory, and I see it here too, if the cat is outside and there's a squirrel in the tree, the squirrel is calling out a warning. It's squawking and squawking, and birds do the same thing. They squawk and they warn that there is a predator in the area.
Right.
So if you're mimicking the animal and you make the animals comfortable with your presence being there because you're mimicking them, it probably won't be giving off a
Oh.
warning that there's a predator in the area. So,
Okay.
and that takes intelligence. And once you have intelligence, that
But
raises the fear factor.
here's the
Oh.
weird thing for
Mm-hmm.
me. Okay.
Right.
So as you and me, I mean, I guess when I put it that way, though, now I'm taking back what I was just thinking, but I'll keep going.
Go.
For an animal, okay, like a gorilla, chimp, whatever. I mean, I can see doing like the whoo for an owl, or you know, for a wolf and birds and all that. So that seems like, you know, simple.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to, let's say, mimic your voice and mine,
Right.
we have two completely different voices.
Right.
Two completely different tones, everything.
Right.
So to be able to have the ability to do that, like that, you know, the recording and the opening video,
Right.
and then
Right.
what I heard, you know, my husband's voice,
Right.
that's beyond animal to me.
Well,
That's weird.
take it. Well, okay. With that said, my ex's brother has an African gray.
Oh.
Now that African gray can mimic anybody's voice it chose, and it can mimic it to the point where you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the actual person. Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy because the bird was kept in their kitchen, and
Wow.
and he would be sitting in the living room with us, you know, and it was Christmas time, so the, you know, the house is full of people, and you'd hear him, he's in the living room with us, and you'd hear him in the kitchen talking to his wife. And then you would hear her, and this is all coming from the bird. And it picks up certain phrases that, you know, it picks up on that it hears frequently, like, you know, and
did you take out the trash?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. But you hear it in that voice, and it is astounding.
Wow.
And then it'll do the telephone ringing. And he said he can't tell you how many times he went to pick up the phone thinking it was his phone ringing when it's actually the bird. He's like, it drive you insane.
Wow.
But so yes, there are, at least in the bird world, yes, they do have the ability to mimic. When I went to high school, there was a farm right next door to the high school, and the farmer had raised a crow, and he had the tongue split on the crow. You split a crow's tongue, which sounds very inhumane, and maybe it is. I don't know that much about the science, but you split the tongue of a crow, and the crow has the ability to talk also, and it can mimic.
That is
so yeah. Oh, this crow would sit up, you know, and it was, you know, it was a very tame crow. He, like I said, he raised this thing, and it would sit on the little brick wall out in front of our high school. And as the kids were coming into school, there's a crow there, and everybody respected it because they knew who the crow belonged to, and it would say good morning, or how are you, and it's just the craziest thing coming from a crow, which you wouldn't think you could actually teach a crow to talk, but apparently if you split the tongue, yeah, it's possible. Now, maybe evolution over years has taken away that ability on the crow. I'm not sure. That much I don't know. But there are animals that can mimic. And to say you leave that up to a super intelligent entity or being or creature, yeah, to be able to pull out that tone and make it sound exactly like somebody else. I'm fascinated by impersonators that impersonate other actors. You know, so people have the ability to do it too, sure.
Hello, my name is M.K. Davis. I have featured a video a couple of times that I call the shed talker, or, you know, it's a voice on the other side of a shed wall that's picked up by the camera. And, you know, a lot of people talk about it, but, you know, I'd like to explain it a little further. Amongst the researchers, there was an experiment going on. And the Shed Talker video was sort of a culmination or the end result of that experiment. And in this experiment, they would holler out names or words into the night, or into the day for that matter, just over and over and over again. And a lot of the researchers who weren't there during the week, they would get someone that was there on the place to just holler these words out over and over again to see what their powers of mimicry were, with the alleged Sasquatch or Bigfoot what their powers of mimicry were. Were they able to repeat these words back? And after a while, and it took a while, they began to hear the words back. And what you hear in the shed talker is repetition of words and names that had been hollered into the night during over a period of time. So let's listen to some of those words being hollered or being, projected out. And then we'll listen to the shed talker and see if you don't agree, at least that those are the same words. Let's listen. And now let's listen to the shed talker. Regardless of what you might think about the shed talker video, it sounds to me, and I think most people will agree, that they are the same words that were being hollered into the night or shouted into the night in the other video, which was the objective of the experiment was to see if they would learn or mimic the words. It definitely sounds like that is the same. And if that was my name, that the shed talker was uttering, I would be a little bit unnerved, I think. Hello,
So, yeah, that was kind of creepy, if you ask any of us. Thank you to MK Davis for that audio. Not that he directly sent it to us, but it was borrowed with the imagery. But that was MK Davis with his take. So, pretty creepy, actually. So, anyway, we'll kind of wrap this whole thing up as far as the experience. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that with us. That was really appreciated, and sharing with all of us. If any of you have had an experience and want to leave a comment below, that would be wonderful. Plus, we could also give you a direction to people that are a little bit more in tuned and are actually kind of specialize and are into that, such as Mojo Encounters, that's run by Bono Russell. Joe DH, he's very knowledgeable about these type of things too, so we would be able to at least get you off into those right directions. So thank you. I would appreciate it if you did want to leave a comment in there. Yeah, let's wrap up and go into let's shift gears like You seem to be good at it. We'll shift gears real fast. Put your seatbelts on. We have a Kickstarter campaign. I think some of you are probably aware of it. Thank you to you that have donated to our Kickstarter campaign. I cannot tell you how much that means to us. Thank you. But we still need to reach our goal of $500. And what that is going to do is help boost the equipment, and it's also going to help other aspects of us doing the acrylic ranch so that we can bring you a better product each and every Tuesday. So we will leave the link below if you are interested. We greatly appreciate it. Plus we will have the information there for the mystery box and everything included in the mystery box, and then all the things that will come to follow with that mystery box, because there will be additions to it and other type of interesting little artifacts that you will be able to hang in your own personal museum of weirdness if you choose to do so. So thank you again for your support to the Acrylic Ranch. That will fully implement the website, so you'll be able to tour around in there with your very own flashlight, so you won't be afraid of the dark in the chamber and the other other aspects of the Acrylic Ranch page.
Also, we just, to give an update to let everybody know how long we have, is we've got till August 20th.
Right.
And then that's when the Kickstarter is over. And then I also want to give a big shout out to two of our favorite people.
Ooh, big shout outs.
Happy birthday to Ryan Sprague and Shannon LeGros.
Yes. Today is Ryan Sprague's birthday and Shannon LeGros' birthday. And
birthday buddies.
And you know, without the two of them, you know, Jen and I would probably not even be close to doing this. Thanks to Shannon LeGros, and Jennifer and myself found each other with the common interest enough to go ahead and push the Acrylic Ranch forward. And I like to consider it, and I think, Jen, you do too, we kind of like consider ourselves a subsidiary of Into the Fray Radio, where we can pick up, you know, certain subjects that are still very relevant to what Into the Fray Radio does as well. So a huge happy birthday, and many, many more to come. Shannon is a very, very good friend to Jennifer and myself, and we love her dearly. And Ryan is just a salt of the earth individual with his Somewhere in the Skies podcast, which is absolutely fascinating to listen to, the ongoing interviews and scientific aspect to the UFO, if you want to refer to them as UFOs, or as Jacques Vallée refers to it as unidentified aerial phenomena. Either way, but so congratulations to Ryan, congratulations to Shannon, and happy birthday to the two of you. The great oddities
Happy
that they
birthday.
share a birthday on the same day. So I think that's fantastic. What else we got, Jen?
I think that's it. Let's see.
I've got a next Tuesday announcement.
Oh, okay. I'll let you do that then.
Oh, very good. Yes, next Tuesday we will probably be on location. That's what we are shooting for. And of course, you know, as time draw near, you will see the posts up for what the show is. But we're going to have a special guest. Casey Gamble is going to be joining us. He was on Into the Fray Radio and shared his story. He has a lot more additions and experiences to the story. So again, it's a continuation to what Into the Fray is. So look forward to that. We will be probably going to the areas where some of his encounters were actually seen at. So this will be a kind of a mini ranch edition, I guess, but you will be able to get to see him face to face along with myself as we do this show. So I'm looking forward to next Tuesday's adventure greatly. So yay Acrylic Ranch, right?
Yay! Woo!
Well, there we go. Well, always remember, Into the Fray Radio airs a new episode every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And of course, like we just said, Somewhere in the Skies every Monday and us over here at the ranch. We're holding things down every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. Please go over and take a look at the Kickstarter video, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Jennifer, have a wonderful night.
Stay classy, San Diego.
There you go. Bye, everybody. Thank you.